and locking everything in, making the content perfect to share with y'all, that I haven't been doing anything for the last couple days outside of focusing on what was immediately in front of me. So I spent like 3 hours this morning catching up with business, but I'm here now, and it's so good to see you all. If you are one of the first 1.3 thousand people tuning into the live stream, guys, make sure that you're double tapping away on that phone screen and sharing this live out with a handful of friends. And yeah, I guess we're going to go ahead and hop right into the debates with the Trump supporters, quite frankly. But, you know, intermittently, I would love to share some more information with you guys about the last couple of days because, oh my God, have they been interesting? But Blake, thank you for the $2 on Venmo, saying thank you for going live. I've been having a rough day and you always make it better. Thank you for the love, Blake. But all right, guys, if you're in that queue, make sure that you support Trump. We are really only looking for debates, so do just kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, let's go ahead and get that first guest of the night up here. We're going to go and get Janie loading up into the stream, guys, and go ahead and drop a MAGA down below in that comment section. What's going on? Do you support? Hey, what's going on, Janie? Do you support Trump?
Italian place.
Janie's not here, quite frankly, so we're gonna go to get that next guest up here, y'all. Yeah, we're gonna be going live on YouTube here soon. But yeah, hey guys, so Texas went great. Wow. So we had a lot of problems that we had to navigate when we were boots on the ground. It was the first time where it was a first stop. It was our first time doing it. So there's a lot of unforeseen issues that we couldn't calculate for that occurred. But everyone did greatly. I mean, everyone just kind of, when something went wrong, we pivoted and then made up for it. And at the end of the day, I think that it ended up being a great experience for me, all of the other creators, and then everyone who showed up. It ended up being really awesome, y'all. But hey, what's going on, Duck? Do you support Trump?
Yo, what up, bruh? Of course I do, bruh.
You do support Trump, so why would you support the worst president of your life?
Because he has cool TikTok edits and Kamala didn't, bruh. And that
Yeah, get off the live. All right. Sorry if we were to have let that guy up here, I think all of our like intelligence would have significantly gone down. We're gonna go ahead and get that next guest up here right now. Go ahead and drop a MAGA down below in that comment section if you would like to come up and join us, y'all. We are gonna go to get that next guest up in here. Let's go ahead and get Jaw loading into the box. Here we are, everyone. What's going on, Jaw? Do you support Trump? Jaw, hello? Jaw's not here. Okay, if you're one of the first 2,000 people watching the stream and you support Trump, go ahead and drop a MAGA down below in that comment section, and we'll get you up here for a conversation. But yeah, no, seriously, do make sure that we are double tapping away in that phone screen and sharing out this live with a handful of friends. This is our first live back in the last few days because we've been out in Texas, and it was so much fun, but here we are. So yeah, we just want to get some debates underway, so we're going to start looking for that first guest of the live stream. If you would just go ahead and give us a minute, that would be, quite frankly, phenomenal. It doesn't really look like we have too many guests that are in the live right now, and that it's proving to be very difficult to find anybody that's willing to come up here and have a conversation. But let's try to get those guests loaded in. What's going on, Elle? Do you support Trump?
I'm sorry, this was...
I'm going to go to take that as a no. What's up, Ryan? Do you support Trump?
No, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say I appreciate you for everything. Thank you.
Hey, man, Ryan, I appreciate you. All right, guys, do just keep in mind that we are just looking for those debates, but W to Ryan. And all right, let's go and get that next guest, Sophia, up in the box. Here we go, everyone. We got Sophia loading in. What's going on, Sophia? Do you support Trump?
Dean, I'm so sorry. I know that you don't like this, but I have a quick AB argument for you to run, and it's about the baby bonus that Trump is proposing. So he's saying that he would give the 5K at birth, which means that babies are babies at birth and not at conception. Just thought it was an interesting little loophole there that you could consider. Thank you. Love you.
I appreciate you for coming up and sharing that with me. Because it's just kind of one of those things where you can point at him and be like, "What do you mean?" I feel like that's a really good gotcha moment. You know what I mean? That's a great gotcha moment. I'm definitely gonna pull that one out in one of these conversations. What's going on, Tyler? Do you support Trump?
Yup.
Okay, Tyler, how old are you?
18.
18, and you support the worst president of your life. Why is that?
Because first of all, my parents voted for him, and second of all, he's ending wokeness.
Okay, Tyler, go ahead and hop back in that queue. I accidentally disconnected you. I literally didn't mean to do that. Please just get back in the guest request, Tyler. We'll get you up here. That was a mistake. So while we're waiting on getting Tyler back in that queue, there's a handful of things that you guys can do to help us get this live to send out more. Double tap away in that phone screen, share this live with a handful of friends, and spam that comment section. It'll really help us send the live out to more people. But let's go to get Tyler back up in this box, y'all. So you said that you support him because he's ending wokeness. So be more specific, because wokeness is kind of a very vague descriptor.
He's banning trannies from the military.
So he just comes up here and drops a slur. We're going to move on to the next guest TikTok. Please don't take me down. We don't allow that shit on the live, and hopefully I kicked him off quick enough for the TikTok gods. We're going to move on to the next guest. Y'all, guys, we are still just looking for the very first Trump supporter of the day. Wow, we have 3,000 people almost in the stream right now. And there's not like one person that supports the president of America that wants to come up here and have a conversation with me. Oh my God, dude. What a rough day. What a rough day to be a liberal. Okay. I mean, suffering from success. I guess I've changed everybody's mind. Changed everybody's mind. Dude, someone in the comment section just said, bro's scared to debate Kirk. You obviously haven't heard the news. Chris, you should join so I can embarrass you real quick while we're looking for the Trump supporters. I really hope that Chris joins. I really hope that he does.
Hey, thanks for having me up, bro.
Hey, what's going on, man? Do you support Trump?
I do. Do you?
No, I don't at all. Now, you do have a little bit of background noise with, it sounds like some wind outside. Is there somewhere with less background noise, like wind, you could get to?
Yeah, how's that?
It's a little better. Sarah, thank you for the $5 over on Venmo, the third donation of the stream, as well as Anita with the $5 as well, guys. Thank you so much. But anyway, so you told us you do support Trump. Go ahead and tell us why.
Did you see what he's doing to Kilmar?
Did I see what he's doing to Abrigo Garcia? Yes, like not giving him due process and ignoring an order from the Supreme Court. Sure, I've seen that.
So if you go to 2 immigration hearings, does that?
Oh, wait. This is your day ender.
Who? Oh, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
What's up?
You're crazy, so I'm gonna kick you. I don't even ask for the backstory on him. I promise I was justified in doing that. If you know, you know, you guys. It's just like, if you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. Brenna, thank you for the galaxy. I do really appreciate you for the love. What's going on, Bella? Do you support Trump? And Bella left. Wow, look at that. No debates. No debates. Quite frankly, there's no discussions to be had because everyone is scared, and that's the truth. Sid, thank you so much for the $50 over on Venmo. Oh my God, 500W. Sid's down below. Sid says, hi, I'm at work, but thank you so much for Tuesday. It was so much fun. Dude, Sid, hell yeah. So for those that don't know, Sid, I mean, if you watch his streams frequently, you've likely heard her name before. She flew out to the event, and it was just so incredibly awesome to meet Sid, as well as everybody. But, you know, like, especially Sid, because she's in here every single day. And a very active member of the community, and flew. I was about to dox where she lives. Flew all the way from somewhere far away into the event. So everybody, let's just please show some love to Sid down below in the comment section. It's actually, somebody else I just saw in the chat, Briar. Same thing to Briar, dude. Briar also, Briar also came out, and that was phenomenal, dude. That was great. It was so good to meet every single one of you guys that was able to show up to the event in person, and I'm really hoping that we do more in the future, because I mean this was so fun, man. But all right, we're gonna go to get that next guest up at the box. If you are in that queue, make sure that you do indeed support Trump. And yeah, that's it. We're just looking for some Trump supporters, and quite frankly, it doesn't really look like many are tuning into the live. Hello, Paz. Do you support Trump?
No, but please tell me there's video from the event.
Oh, yeah, man. The whole thing's recorded. Right now, we're still kind of editing it. Our first focus is just short form content for places like Instagram and TikTok. But, I mean, eventually we are going to be editing out a long form YouTube video that I'm going to throw up on my channel. What's going on, Theo? Do you support Trump? Holy shit, that was like incredibly impressive, Theo. He was just gonna keep going, but wow, I'm actually like really impressed. I'm nice, Theo. I can't be mad at that. That went hard as fuck, dude. Theo's cooking. Everyone, show some love to Theo. Oh my god. All right, Mr. Tommy, hello. Do you support the president?
Hi, Dean. I do. We've had some conversations before, but this one's a little bit off topic. But I just want one quick question. I saw you on Steiny's podcast. What's your favorite Deftones song?
What's my favorite Deftones song? Probably
Yeah.
Changes, but I mean
Okay.
that's like a little bit more of a fan favorite. I'd have to look at
Sure.
their discover. Oh, you know what? No, I'd have to look at I'd have to look at the entirety of their song list to be able to find like the more niche Deftones songs that
For sure.
that I like. There's probably a couple, but Changes is just the all-time classic. Like that's what got me into Deftones years and years and years ago. So I always give it some love, even though it's a more popular song. But great question, Tommy.
100% respect, man.
Oh yeah, take care, Tommy. We're gonna move on to the next guest here, y'all. Let's get that next guest up in the box, guys. If you are that queue, make sure that you do need to support Trump. We are just looking for some debates. Yeah, Dominize is also fire. All right, let's get that next guest up here literally right now. What's going on, Bryce? Do you support Trump?
Kind of. I mean, I didn't vote at all. I don't really. I don't really like care for both parties. I actually just popped on this live and I just requested. That's so funny that I actually got on. That's pretty cool.
Hell yeah, Bryce. Well, we are just looking for people with a little bit more of a formed political opinion. So we're going to move on to Harry. But while we are, oh my God, Adam!
Dean,
Thank you.
hey, I just wanted to say, I know I'm from across the pond, but I just wanted to say,
Harry, I love you. I could hear it in the tone of your voice. You're gonna come up here and be very kind. I love you, Harry. You're very kind. We are just looking for some Trump supporters, but I mean, everyone that has popped up so far that has not been a Trump supporter has actually been very kind today. So just know that I love y'all so much. Oh my God, dude, oh my God, the event, there's like so many people there that had traveled hours from out of town. I love you guys so much. But guys, we are just looking for some debates with some Trump supporters on the live stream today. What is going on, Daniela? Do you support Trump? Daniela is not here, quite frankly. While we are getting the next guest up here, I want to thank Adam for the $100 donation over on PayPal. Dude, Adam says you did such a great job. I wish I could have been there. Adam, thank you so much for the love, dude. Dude, 1,000 W's for Adam down below in that comment section, literally right now. That is so kind. I do not deserve that. Oh my God. Show some love to Adam while we're getting this next guest up on the live. If you are one of the 6.4 thousand people watching the stream right now and you support President Donald Trump, all I want you to do is go ahead and spam MAGA down below in that chat, hop in that queue, and we will get you up here on the stream. What is going on, Jaden? Do you support Trump?
No. I just wanted to say I love your content.
Man, Jaden, I do really appreciate that. You were so kind. Okay, let's go over the ground rules. So there's 68 people in the queue right now. If you're one of those 68 people, ask yourself, do I support Trump? If the answer is yes, stay in the queue. If the answer is no, leave the queue. Okay, then ask yourself if you're from America and at least 18. If the answer is yes, stay in the queue. If the answer is no, leave the queue. I just want to have confidence that everybody I click on that is in the guest request right now is a Trump supporter, just so we can kind of start getting some debates going for the day. But just know that I really do appreciate y'all that don't support Trump, that are just coming up here to show love. And I know like sometimes it seems like I don't because I'm like shuffling, like I'm moving on from y'all quickly to try to get some debates. But you don't, even though I'm doing that I still really do love you guys. What's going on? Do you support Trump?
Unfortunately, yes, but like it seems like he's trying to play the long game right here.
I have a question. What time is it?
What time is it in England? Sorry.
Dude, come on, bro. I just said it. I only want to talk to people that are from America. We're gonna move on to the next guest, y'all. Come on, y'all. Dude, come on, guys. Come on, y'all. Guys, what's going on, Buckeye? Do you support Trump?
Yeah, I
do. Okay, all right. How old are you?
I am 19.
19. So here's what we're going to do. Before we hop into a debate, I'm also going to start my live on YouTube, and then we're going to have a great conversation. So for everybody in here, guys, make sure that we're double tapping away on that phone screen. It'll help send out the live to more people. And what the fuck? It won't let me start my live on YouTube. Crazy. Okay. I guess go ahead and take it away while I figure this out. Why do you support Trump?
Is there like what questions do you have? Or like what makes you not like him?
Great. Okay, we actually were able to start the live on YouTube. For everybody tuning in on YouTube, it is so good to have you in here with me today. This is the first stream in 3 days. I'm so happy to have you guys here with me. We're going to go and hop straight into the debates. In fact, we already have our first Trump supporter up on the live named Buckeye. So, Buckeye, you were just asking me what questions do I have? Well, my main question is, why do you support him?
Honestly, I think he's good for America. You know, if you have a president going into office, you don't want someone that's like laughing and like he deals with what he needs to deal with and he gets it done. I get it.
So I just want to clarify that like an intentional crash in U.S. stock markets and barreling America towards a recession is great because we don't want somebody with joy.
Is there proof that he's done that?
Yeah, he said. Yeah, for sure.
proof? Yeah.
His own words. So this was on Truth Social like a week and a half ago. He reposted a TikTok where he said that he's intentionally crashing the stock markets. Insofar as the evidence of America barreling towards a recession, I mean, just go watch the video of Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, say that Donald Trump's tariffs are going to decrease GDP growth. Not to mention the official, the official projection of a recession coming from J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, as well as the Atlanta Fed.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'll just re-ask the question. Is like a woman's laugh worse than a recession?
Well, no, my point is, he gets what he needs done, and I feel like he's better than Kamala because, I mean, she doesn't want to speak to the public, and that's obvious because he wasn't even running yet, and he was still speaking, and she didn't want to. She was also thrown in from Biden. You know,
okay. I never heard the argument for that you didn't support her because she didn't want to speak to the public. I mean, she spent like 120 days doing nothing but speaking to the public.
I didn't see any of that, actually.
I mean, what? So her presidential campaign started a little bit over 100 days out from the election, and she spent the entirety of that time flying around to different places across America to do rallies. And then in the little bit of free time that she had, she'd hop on podcasts. I mean, all that she did for the 120 days leading up to the election was literally speaking to the public, right? And in fact, I'd even argue that she was more willing than Trump to do so because Trump was the only presidential candidate in this election, as well as in like the last 60 years, that declined an interview in 60 minutes.
He did have an interview in 60 Minutes.
Not this election cycle. So what they'll typically do is they'll get both of the presidential candidates together. So in 2024, that would have been Trump and Kamala Harris to sit down and answer questions. Donald Trump declined, one of the first presidential candidates in 60 years to do so. Okay, well, it's funny because apparently this guy doesn't want to speak to the public. Okay, he left. We're going to move on to the next guest. And while we do, I got to thank Cheryl for the $117 donation on PayPal. Holy crap, Cheryl. Dude, that is so kind of you. I want to see 1,000 W Cheryls down below in that comment section while we're getting the next Trump supporter to load up in the live. I do not deserve that. That is literally so kind of you, Cheryl. Cheryl says, "You're so awesome. You must make your parents proud." Funny enough, they are proud of me. But it gets even funnier because they're Trump supporters. But I'm changing their minds slowly but surely. But Cheryl, thank you so much for the $117. That is seriously so much money. That is so much fucking money, bro. Thank you so much, Cheryl. Guys, please show some love to Cheryl. As well as Allison with the $50 over on PayPal. Thank you, Allison and Cheryl, dude. Please show some love to Allison and Cheryl. Allison says, "Sorry I missed it. Mom had a surgery today after a month. Hopefully home soon. We both love the younger Jin doing what y'all do. Keep it up." Allison, I really hope that your mom is doing well. If I'm thinking of the right person, I did tell you this before, and I'm really happy to hear that she's out of surgery, and I hope that things are looking up. Thank you for the love, Allison, and please give my love to your mom. But what is going on, Live Life? Do you support Trump? Live Life. I mean, I hear the background noise. You're obviously on the mic. So, yeah, I can hear you. Do you support Trump, man?
Oh, yeah.
All right, Mr.
I don't know why
Live.
anybody who's American wouldn't.
Okay, maybe because true Americans want to protect and preserve the American Constitution, and Donald Trump has been trying for years to eradicate it, even explicitly so. I mean, fuck, he literally said that he wants to terminate the Constitution in December of 2022. There's like a billion other reasons, but that's a good place to start, right?
I think you're conflating things that are said. It's like he said, fine people on both sides, yada, yada, yada. If you listen to the whole clip, the entire thing is explicitly not what the left tries to make it out to be. So you take little clips and snippets here and there and try to make it look how you want to look. But
so I'm actually
just,
referencing a statement by Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, so are the people who were talking about the fine people on both sides.
So in response to my claim, I just want to clarify that in response to my claim that Donald Trump put a statement out on Truth Social in December of 2022, explicitly calling for the termination of the American Constitution, your response is that no, he didn't.
No. Again, you're doing the exact same thing that they always do. This is your response. You try to put it in a box, try to make it sound like it's what it isn't. You constantly do this kind of shit.
How about I just read you the message?
Yeah, you can read me the message, and guess what? They can read me the exact same message. They can put the exact same thing, and then you go back and you learn the context. Hold on. You go back and you learn the whole context of what's going on, and it's completely different than what you guys say it is every freaking time.
So I'm about to give you the full context
like you guys
reading
and
the full
the previous
message.
caller.
Ready?
The previous caller, you just go, I'm gonna tell you the people who are saying the economy is gonna crash. These people. Here's the difference between people who.
So before we talk about the economy, I just want to.
No, hold on.
I'm not going to hold on because I made a claim that Donald Trump called for the termination of the Constitution, and you've now done anything but respond or address that claim. So I want to read you off the entirety of this message. I want to read you off. Can I just read you off?
No, because it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Dude.
It's a statement
full of shit.
Wait. Slow down. I want to read you the literal text, the words that Donald Trump put out.
The literal study from this economics group and this economics group and this economics group. All you guys do is point to quote unquote authority and act like that means something. Well, who made it mean something? Who made it mean something?
So I want to clarify. I want to clarify. We just really need to clarify here. So my claim is that Donald Trump put out a statement explicitly calling for the termination of the Constitution, and you don't think that me reading off Donald Trump's statement where he explicitly called for the termination of the Constitution is enough evidence?
No, I didn't even. You made that claim, and I didn't even refute the claim. I just said
Great, then
you
refute
leave out a huge. No, I don't need to. That's the whole thing. You guys try to trap people in. He said this and he said that, and this is what he said. And I can prove it. I can prove it. I can prove it.
I can
don't
prove
give
it
a shit.
because I could.
I can take the whole context of what the man is trying to do. I'm not dumb enough to get sucked into a little rabbit hole about one statement Donald Trump once made. I don't give a shit, dude. Like, you're not listening to me. You try to trap people in this little rabbit hole of he did this and he did that and he did this, and I'm saying back the fuck up. Look at the whole context of what's going on in the world. What he's trying to do.
So what was the
what he
context
has done?
Can you give me the context behind him trying to erode and destroy the backbone of this country, which is the American Constitution?
You're pathetic, dude.
No, you are. Because you support a man who wants to destroy the backbone of America, and yet you think you have the right to call yourself a patriot.
What an asinine statement. Based on one statement that he made, based on what?
Based on him calling for the termination of the only thing that, like, the formulation of this country, based upon him calling for the termination of the Constitution? What? You know,
the termination of the Constitution.
Yeah, to get rid of the Constitution, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. You guys take everything that you want to literally, and you take everything that you don't want to exactly the opposite of how it is. Like
we know this was literal. It's
pathetic. Like the left.
No. You're
So why hasn't he just gone straight dictator and just started arresting judges and bullshit like that?
So it's actually really funny.
Why hasn't that?
It's actually really funny because
he's commander in chief right now. He should.
It's actually really funny.
Exporting all of the people who don't believe in him and putting them in prison and doing all those things. Like, you guys are so freaking dramatic. Dude,
let me know when you're done talking. Seriously. Let me know when you're done talking, emotional boy. Let me know when you're done talking, emotional boy. So, emotional little boy, are you ready for me to respond? You're spiraling. I think that you should try to get a hold of yourself because it looks it's quite frankly, it's hilarious when you come up here and you call me pathetic. but then you crash out and spiral for 5 minutes. So let's just hold ourselves together a little bit more than we are right now. I'm going to go and respond. So you just asked a very valuable question. You said, well, if he wants to be this dictator that wants to eradicate the Constitution and do all this, then why hasn't he done it yet? Well, funny enough, he did try to coup our civil and electoral processes, nullify the voice and the vote of the people, and install himself as president in 2020. And then he even admitted to it in court, so my evidence is his own testimony. Okay? And then you said, well, why isn't he just imprisoning people that he doesn't like without due process? Well, he has. In fact, the Supreme Court agrees with me, and they've ordered him to facilitate the return of people to America that he's deported and imprisoned without due process, right? And then you said, why doesn't he then just fire judges? So it's actually, he has fired immigration judges, so he could then install Republican immigration judges. That was a big thing that he ran on. And now, for judges that can't be fired under his authority, he started to call them activist judges that need to resign and need to step down. And if you go on the MAGA Twitter, you will straight up see Republicans telling the Trump administration to straight up ignore the courts, and the Trump administration has listened. They have. Right now, he's being held in contempt of one federal judge that ruled he had to turn a plane around with Venezuelan migrants on it. So it's funny because all of the indicators that you named off that you think would be true if Donald Trump was trying to be a dictator are true.
Three straight lies. So you ready? Number one, he did follow the Constitution. If he wanted to be a dictator when they stole the election in 2020, he could have done it. He was the commander in chief. He could have declared a national emergency and declared martial law. And yeah, it would have been rough, but he was in control. So he could have done it. Number two, on that same point, he did follow the Constitution. The Constitution has provisions, which is why the vice president, who did betray him, I would say that, but that's why he was even in the Senate, because the states have to ratify, which means there is a process for contesting elections in the Constitution that you think he's trying to overthrow.
It's funny,
so
because
number
if we
one
want to relate the Constitution...
total 100% lie. No, you talk, I'm going to talk. That was a lie.
You have
number
more
one
to
is
say?
a lie, provably false. Number two.
I cannot wait to prove you wrong. Nice rhetoric, though. It was cute.
Uh-oh. Come here.
You said you had more to say, so I'll wait.
Yeah, mess. Well, I've got a kid that I'm going to take care of, and I'm, hopeful that this kind of mind dribble that you peddle onto people doesn't ever peddle onto my kids or the rest of the country.
So if you don't want to
fall apart,
you know what you need to do, and I really hope the only way to make sure that this mind
you don't need to tell me what I need
pedal,
to do, bud.
You know what?
You don't need to tell me what to
I
do.
was about to, but I don't genuinely want you to do it. Because I was about to point out that the mind dribble that you are describing of mine is just an ability to critically think, predicated on a foundation of education, right? So, I mean, are you basically telling us that you don't want your child to critically think? You don't want your child to be curious about what's true and false in the world around them? You don't want your child to have a foundation of a high level of education? You want your child to drink the Kool-Aid just like you? You are the problem with this country. Right? But to respond to your statements about my first claim that he tried to overthrow the results of the 2020 election, you called that a lie. He admitted to it. He sent fake slates of electorates to 7 of the key swing states that Biden had won. Okay? And then he sent these fake slates.
Who did that before?
With
Who did that before?
Fake votes.
Who did that before?
Nobody's
Who did
ever
that
done
before?
this before.
Who did that before?
Nobody.
Thousands of, oh wow. You gotta be, there's been thousands of alternative, oh wow, dude. You need to do some history, bro.
Yeah, I do know my
Democrats did
history.
it.
I do.
No,
I do know my history, sir. And actually, it's funny because according to Donald Trump's own legal argument to the Supreme Court, and then inside of the
every election,
sir, are you going to continue to interrupt me? Are you going to continue to interrupt me? We're not going to do interruptions, little boy. How come your child's more mature than you are?
You're just freaking lying. That's the problem.
So
but you just keep muting me so that you can just talk over.
Well, I am muting you because you're talking over me. Were you never taught boundaries?
Right, because you're lying. I say lie.
Yeah, for sure. Go. Well, okay, if I'm so wrong, how come you want to sign? I thought that conservatives liked free speech, but apparently, whenever Dean talks, you want to immediately.
Democrat presidential candidates. Every time a Democrat has lost in the last 50 years, they've had alternate electors show up.
Okay, so
do some freaking history.
Wait, so I actually
grow up, dude.
It's what's called. So I know what you're referencing, and I don't mind educating you. Okay, so you're talking about alternate.
Okay. Thanks so much. You're so smart and educated.
Yes. Are you ready to learn?
Ivy League school, so I can.
I mean, you're seriously not letting me speak at all, man. Are we gonna have a problem? Do I need to mute you?
Oh my gosh.
Do I need to? What? Like seriously, you're an adult, right? Like, is that your child in the other room, or like your brother? I don't know. Or like your child, or like your best friend that you're gonna go to school with tomorrow. Listen. All that I'm asking you for is for the right to speak on my own platform for more than 10 seconds. I feel like that's a fair request.
Yeah, and you did for like 3 long, big, huge.
I just want a productive conversation. Okay, that's all I want. All right.
3 huge long lies that I just sat there quietly and listened to.
Is this seriously how we're gonna do this, man? Okay, I'm gonna give you your last opportunity to continue this conversation without me literally spam muting you. I hate when I have to do that so much, but I'm gonna have to do it if I want to talk. So I'm gonna go ahead and start speaking. Please don't interrupt me. All right, and I'll give you the same respect. So, anyways, back to what I was gonna say. So you try to argue that every single Democrat that has lost an election in the last 50 years has sent alternative slates of electors into Congress. So first of all, that claim is just analytically false. No. Alternative slates of electors that we've seen in Congress on the ratification of the vote on January 6th have not been sent by any presidential by any presidential candidate. Okay, man. What are we doing? I'm going to go ahead and restart. So you made the claim, right, that all of the Democrats that have lost in presidential elections in the last 50 years, Grace, thank you for the galaxy, have sent alternative slates of electors to the ratification of the vote on January 6th. That claim is not true. Okay? What is true is that the governor's offices of states in an election will typically send 1 or 2 slates of electors to Congress with a vote saying that each candidate won, so that when they know the official outcome of the election from their state, they'll then just ordain the appropriate slates of electorates to cast the vote for the correct candidate. All right? But that is a legal process that is managed by the governor's office of states operating inside of their typical jurisdiction. But when we're referencing what Donald Trump did in the 2020 election, he didn't have an ordained official alternative slates of electorates come from these states to Congress. He sent unofficial, fake slates of electorates to these states that their governor offices knew nothing about to cast fake votes back to Congress saying that he won. And we even have the emails from the governor's offices of these 7 key swing states to Congress saying that we don't know where the fuck these votes came from, and they're just simply not true. So once again, when you know your history, when you're educated on American elections, you would never equivocate between genuine processes of the presidential election and Donald Trump's illegal attempted coup.
It wasn't an illegal attempted coup.
I just told you exactly how it was. I bet you didn't listen. And quite frankly, if you didn't listen, I'm going to kick you.
If I didn't listen to you saying that the governors appoint those electors?
If you didn't listen to my description insofar as how your argument was not the case.
Historically, if there's a contested election, there are alternate electors appointed. Period.
That's also just simply not true. So the reason why there's been alternate slates of electors in Congress in the past is just simply because the governor's office sends 2 if the election is close. Right? And then once the election results finalize, they then authorize the appropriate slate of electors. But that's like, once again, an official office that is consequential of the jurisdiction of the governor's offices. And what Donald Trump did had nothing to do with any legitimate jurisdiction over the slates of electorates. He literally just sent fake people to those states to cast fake votes back to Congress.
Okay, so answer me this, riddle me this, Batman. Why didn't it succeed?
Yeah, great question.
And,
I have a great
riddle me
answer
this,
because
riddle
Mike
me
Pence.
this at the same time. This is
No,
the
no,
same
I'm gonna
thing.
answer
No,
one question
same-
at once. The answer
Okay.
to your first question is Mike Pence. Mike Pence did not feign ignorance towards Donald Trump's fake votes. He threw them out and he certified the votes for Biden because that was the legitimate outcome of the election. He then went on a mic and said that he places the Constitution above Donald J. Trump. And that's why you call him a backstabber. So I think you're a traitor to this country. And your first claim when you came up here was, how could any American ever not support Donald Trump? Well, that's how, because he's a traitor to this country, and so are you for supporting and condoning his actions.
Wow. Well, if you think what he's doing is bad for the country, like actually caring about the American workers first, actually trying to put people here at an even playing field with the rest of the world, I feel sorry for you, man. Like you're this elitist, idealist type of person. It's like education and authoritative groups, and let's point to this authority and that authority to try to validate our own point. And all those authorities were propped up by elitists that want to have that authority.
Would you label yourself as anti-elitist?
I would label myself as somebody who cares about people.
So you're anti-elitist, right?
No, I think if you have people who are...
Okay, so you don't like elitists, right?
Don't listen to me. That's fine.
So you don't like elitism?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I don't like people who...
you just called me an elitist and said that was bad. So this implies that you don't like elitists,
I didn't say
right?
it was bad. No, I say leaning on elitism and academia and all of the established order.
Leaning on an education?
To validate your points.
What?
It's true.
Wait. Did you just tell me that using education to validate what I believe in is a bad way to live, is a bad way to think? Wait, I just want to make this so clear. So your critique, I just want to clarify. Your critique of me is that I'm educated.
No, that's not what I said.
Yes, it is. You just told me that I lean on education.
For a educated person.
You just told me that I lean on education to validate what I think, perceive, and feel, and somehow that's a bad thing. So in other words, I'm wrong because I'm smart.
No, I didn't say that again, but that's typical liberal. Great response.
Or maybe it's just a typical MAGA thing to not be able to describe how you feel because the way you feel is indescribable.
I said how I
as it's
feel.
not reliant on facts, reason, or logic, and it's propped up by your own ego, prejudice, and biases.
Or I described it, and you weren't listening. Maybe that's the alternative.
I don't know, man. When we have
Just
over
maybe.
10,000,
but I don't know.
When we have over 10,000 people in a room saying that is what you said, I don't think I'm in the wrong for hearing that. I think you're either lying or you didn't represent your view correctly in the way that you described it. I'm a nice guy. I'll allow you another chance to try to re-describe your view. Okay? So I thought you said that leaning on academia, leading on education to, give credence to what I believe, right? My beliefs as a whole is a bad thing. And then you said, no, that's not what you said. So how about you rephrase it in a way that will make sense to me?
So I said elitism, authoritarianism, the established order of things, the way you look at who decides what is the authority and what is not. What's that, bud? Yeah. Oh, Band-Aids. You get a Howie?
Yeah.
The way that you establish what is true and what is not true is all based on authorities. Formal education.
What?
Has
bro,
become, hold on.
This is
I'm
so
not done talking,
this is
bro.
so hypocritical.
I'm not done talking.
You literally
Formal
think that Biden rigged 2020 because an authority, because an authority said so.
Thanks for letting me talk.
Right.
Yeah, I think that formal education has been overrun by people who decide what is true and what is not true, and then tell people like you who now say they're educated and they can tell you how the world works. Dude, I want out of the system. I want the entire elite, established order to take a bath. It needs to change. Nobody is crashing the stock market on purpose. Nobody is trying to destroy the stock market.
Wait.
They are trying to give back to the American people the ability to produce things. They're trying to give back to the American people the issue of their currency. They're trying to give people the American, which is, by the way, 100% constitutional. If you read the Constitution,
Okay,
you
man,
know
you've
that
been
the
speaking for a while
issue
at
of
this
our
point.
currency,
Can I butt
the
in
issue
here?
of our currency, the issue of our currency is constitutionally a power that belongs to the Congress, which is the people's house. So he's trying to take away. Well, you asked me why I support Trump. He's trying to give back to the people the power that has been usurped from them by the elite group of people. Now, am I mad at the elite people for doing it? No,
Hey, brother,
we've allowed them to do
this
it.
this thesis has to come to an end so I could respond. Perfect. Okay. So there's one thing that you said in there that I picked up on. You told us that nobody's trying to intentionally crash the stock market. Donald Trump said he intentionally crashed the stock market verbatim, explicitly.
I don't care. I don't care if he said that. What is the point of what he's trying to do? That's the whole thing. You can't see the entire, it's like you're stuck on one tree. There's a whole forest out there, bro. He's playing the entire field of what he's trying to do.
This
I
is
just
unreal.
expressed to you,
So this is so unreal to me. It is so unreal to me because you're right. You don't care. And I appreciate you for being honest. In fact, if you go to my main account and you look at the caption of my most recent post, it is, and I quote, MAGA doesn't care. Because you're right. You just simply play pretend. And you've demonstrated that to us on this live. You come up here and you pretend to be this rational person with principles. Okay? But you're not at all. Okay? Because you describe these principles to us. You're like, you love this country. You're a patriot. And you want to defend what's important to core American values. Okay? But earlier, when I pointed out that Donald Trump is the exact opposite of that, he has eroded core American values and explicitly called for the termination of the American Constitution, which underpins American values, right? You told me that you didn't give a shit, that you didn't care, all right? The mask came off when you can no longer just simply play pretend and act like you hold to any genuine principles or hold red lines against politicians. But
I don't
mean,
care what
all
you
of
or
this is
anyone
just
else say
merely
he says.
rhetoric.
I care
dude.
what he does.
It's just simply words that you speak so you're not totally ostracized from society. Or in other words, maybe it's also possible that you play pretend with principles to seemingly make yourself out to be a better person than you are. Because if you were honest with yourself about what you think and how you feel and how you're willing to do whatever it takes to support Trump, and you'll never hold a red line against him in your life, you'd have a worse vision of yourself, right? But I just also want to point out here at the end there, you told me that nobody's trying to intentionally crash the stock market, meaning that seemingly you hold to this principle that if one were to try to intentionally crash the stock market, that'd be bad, that'd be wrong, that'd be a very bad thing that shouldn't happen. But then when I tell you that Donald Trump has explicitly said he is intentionally crashing the stock market, guess what? That pretend principle goes out the window, then all of a sudden,
Right. Is the stock market
care.
up or down today?
Is the
Is the stock market up or down today?
I haven't checked the app today. That's a red herring to the position. My claim was that Donald Trump intentionally crashed the market, and he said so, and that happened.
And what of it? What has happened since then?
What has happened since then? Well, we've had foreign investors pull out of American markets. Consumer confidence. You asked me a question, and now I'm going to respond to it. We've had foreign investors pull out of American markets. We've seen a stagnation in American investment in American manufacturing. We've seen big companies such as we've seen big companies such as Stellantis fire over 900 employees. We've seen other countries consider imposing. Wait, what? You're saying it's a lie that Stellantis?
$7 trillion of investment in manufacturing from foreign countries. Foreign companies, $7 trillion. That's never happened in history.
Oh, like $7 trillion since what? Since when?
Investment in manufacturing in the United States since he's taken office.
Okay, and what's
damn near $7 trillion.
And what's that
in manufacturing plants here in the United States?
Okay, which ones?
You got the biggest chip manufacturer in the world. You got car manufacturers. I don't know all of them.
So
it's a lot.
So yeah, we're building chip plants.
Apple, $500 billion from Apple. I mean, dude, the entire world is coming home. The entire world is coming to the United States to build things here. Pay American workers, pay American wages, get people what they like. not only that, it's a major national security problem if we don't have chips made here. Steel manufacturers are coming back. Like you are asleep at the wheel if you think that we're safe and China makes all of our steel. The minute China decides to go to war with us for whatever reason, whether it's Donald Trump or somebody else, if we don't have manufacturing here, we're dead.
Hey, do you know why we're building more chips in America? Because the Biden-Harris administration passed a bill called the Chips and Science Act, in which was a multi-billion-dollar investment into chip producers inside of America so we could boost our domestic production from what was relatively 1% to 30% in the next 4 years. So this bill was passed through Congress. The federal government was authorized to spend billions of dollars on chip producers to subsidize them to increase their production. Manufacturing plants began construction under the Biden-Harris administration and are now continuing under the Trump administration because of the Chips and Science Act. You just told us that nothing happened. You named the chip producer that is moving to America because of that bill, right? And Biden predicted it all. Right? He said we're building the strongest American economy ever, right? And everybody knew that when there's any successes that were caused by by Joe Biden's great domestic policy for the American economy, you were going to baselessly associate it with Trump, and here you are doing that today. Okay. And it's funny because essentially in a nutshell, you're saying that because it's happened under his administration, he caused it. Okay. Well, the markets are down 7% overall since his inauguration. Did he cause that too?
I would say his policies absolutely caused it. I'm not in denial that what he's doing is changing things up. I am for a change up. That's what I'm saying. The reason that I'm pro Trump is not because like I say, you guys get stuck on, he said this, he said that, he said this, and he was going to do this, but he said this. Like, I don't care.
We get stuck on false promises. You don't care about false promises. Thanks for being honest.
Dude, just let me finish. Let me finish for hell's sake.
I'll let you finish.
I care about the broad picture.
Your wife finish. Okay. The broad picture.
Yeah.
What
is he doing? That means he's putting tariffs on the rest of the world. I believe personally he's going to try to reduce income taxes on anybody under 300 grand to zero. I believe he's got.
So we actually have a study from the Institute on Taxation and Economics in which did an evaluation of his proposed economic policy. And what it indicates is that every single American making over $395,000 per year will have more purchasing power as a result of his economic policy. However, every single American making under that dollar amount per year will have less purchasing power as his economic policy as a whole is regressive. And if you would like
based on what?
Yeah, based upon the fact that tariffs, right, increase the price of goods produced outside of America for American consumers, as well as they increase the price of goods produced by American manufacturers because we source raw materials from outside of America, and because low-income Americans spend a disproportionate amount of their money on the bare necessities to live compared to millionaires who save 20% of their income on average, what we see is they pay more of that tax proportionately speaking. So this means that his plan for blanket tariffs is an implementation of a regressive taxation system that is worse for you the less money you make.
If you only look at that one piece of it, yeah, I could see their mathematics working, but it's not just like one. Like if you're talking just about the tariffs, it's one piece.
No, it's the economic policy. It's all of his economic policy. That's the totality of the study.
So tell me this: what's his economic policy include? Just tariffs? The taxation bill. What else?
So what we know right now is tariffs and taxes.
Oh, that's it?
Tariffs and tax cuts.
Oh, that's the fuckery there.
Yeah, that's the meat on the bone.
Who produces our currency?
Who produces our currency? I mean, our money is printed by the Federal Reserve.
Okay, and who's the Federal Reserve?
Who's the Federal Reserve? It's a part of the federal government checked by Congress, and they essentially manage the money. Not
read the charter. It's a privately owned bank.
False. So
read the charter. Read the charter.
So
you can go online and read the charter.
You're talking about the 12 banks that are managed under the Federal Reserve. However, the Federal Reserve is a government agency that is managed by Congress. However, the 12 banks that work under their jurisdiction are private. But this is a huge
the Federal Reserve Act of 1913.
I'm literally
read the Federal Reserve Act of 1913.
Dude,
go read the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. That's the bill
who appointed Jerome Powell?
Nobody in Congress
who appointed Jerome Powell? Any answer? Also, nice pivot, by the way. I just want to clarify. Really nice pivot.
Well, it's the exact same. That's what I'm saying. Is the whole picture? It's not a pivot at all.
Yes, it is, because I was describing to you that Donald Trump's economic policy reduces the purchasing power for everybody making under $395,000 per year. Then you're like, oh, the Federal Reserve is a private entity. So no, it's not. The federal board, okay, is checked by Congress. And in fact, even the president has some jurisdiction over the Federal Reserve. Like, for instance, here's a study. This is by the Washington Match. It's titled, Can Trump Fire Powell? Congress may be powerless to stop him. And this describes that under certain circumstances, yes, the president has some authority over the Federal Reserve. However, that is, of course, limited by the power the Federal Reserves hold, as well as the power of Congress. So, I mean, your claim that it's a completely private entity is utterly fucking false. It is fictitious and it's not true. But I don't want you to pivot. I want you to stay on subject because I want you to
Why did that prove? How did that prove that it's not a independent agency? How did it prove that it's not an independent bank?
Because the fact that Congress and no, of course, you asked me a question. You asked me a fucking question. Why do you start interrupting me when I start answering your questions? Your question is, how does that prove that it's not an independent agency? Because it shows codependence on the checks and balances offered to some extent by Congress and the executive branch of our government. Okay, if it was an independent agency, Congress and Trump would have no say at all.
Right. So let me get this straight. You think that because they allow the president and Congress to ask questions, and on occasion exert some small amount of authority.
The law literally says that the president can remove a member of the Federal Reserve's board for governor's cause, meaning like they're acting inefficiently, they're not doing a good enough job, and of course it is then checked by Congress, and there's ongoing debate about the extent of this law and how far-reaching that oversight would go. And unironically, by the way, Jerome Powell was fucking appointed by who?
Trump.
But in his first term, exactly. So if it was a private independent agency, how the hell fuck did Trump appoint their chairman? Did he just ask kindly?
Let me ask you a question.
Jesus Christ. No, you're not going to ask me a question. You're going to respond to what I just said. Because you pivoted from debating Donald Trump's economic policy to you arguing that the Federal Reserve is bad. Okay? That's neither here nor there. And then when I leaned into that and I described
you need to learn how it works, dude. If you think that the Federal Reserve has nothing to do with economics,
it has nothing to do with a debate about Donald Trump's economic policy, but I leaned into it nonetheless, right? And I debunked your claim that it's an
the cost of money.
You are going to go ahead and stop interrupting me. Thank you very much. So we leaned into a debate about the Federal Reserve. You said that it was a private entity, right? I disputed that. I proved you wrong. I demonstrated their codependence on the checks and balances offered by other branches of our federal government. Okay. And I want to go back to the question that I asked you, because I'm not going to lie, man, I'm feeling left out of this conversation. What I think is happening is you want to be able to direct our conversation wherever you want it to be, because you know if you were to genuinely answer one of my questions, you'd look really not smart. So let's focus on the bone. I allowed you to pivot to discussion about the independence or lack thereof of the Federal Reserve, and I told you why you were wrong, and I even gave you a source to justify my counterclaim. But I want you to give the same good faith to my claim about Donald Trump's economic policy reducing the purchasing power for every single American making under $395,000 per year. Also, Pickles, I appreciate you for the raid. I can't hear you when you're outside of the app. If you can't see me, man, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. If you just Google, is the Federal Reserve independent? It says, very first result, yes, the Federal Reserve is considered an independent central bank. Do you know what a central bank is? It's a bank that's been, hold on, let me finish. It's a bank that has been given authority by whatever entity, governing entity there is, to produce the currency for that nation. Okay? There's lots of them all around the world.
When they label,
let me finish my whole point.
When they label themselves as an independent central bank, all that means is that our government doesn't have unilateral control and say-so over the bank because checks and balances exist. There's an
It is not a branch of government.
It is managed by the branches
It is
of
not
government.
managed by the government. It
Oh
is
my
not.
God! Yes, it is. I'm telling you, the Congress and the president both have some power over
You're
the Federal
pathetic, dude.
Reserve.
Stop muting me. Stop
I'm
muting
going
me.
to tell you the power they have over the Federal Reserve. Are
you're
you
gonna
ready?
tell me, dude? I'm telling you right now.
I'm telling you once again. The Federal Reserve is
telling
under.
you, if you
interrupt
do some
me
research-
once again, little boy, and I'm going to start spam muting the button. The Federal Reserve is under federal oversight. What does that mean? When a chairman's term is out, right? The president gets to nominate the new chairman. Okay? If there's anybody on the board of the Federal Reserve, the president can kick them out for inefficiency, and that is by law. The Congress also has some say-so insofar as the ratification of the nominations from the presidency or ratification of other members on the board. What you take issue with is that it's really hard to remove the chairman of the Fed because they serve 12 to 16-year terms, and that is almost independent from what the president wants or the president says. The reason that is the case is so the chairman of the Fed doesn't play politics, which is a really good thing, right? If we were to give more control and say-so to the president of America, or Congress to more oversight over the Fed, more than in which they already possess, well, all of a sudden the Federal Reserve is going to start playing politics, and they're going to do bad things with your money, either because the president thinks it'll be good for their campaign, or they want to set it up to be worse for the next guy. But I would like to clarify and be very clear with my assertion. The board, right, of the Federal Reserve is managed by Congress. The only unelected bureaucrat running an unofficial government agency that is not checked or balanced by anyone is Elon Musk with a Doge.
Let me ask you a question.
No, because you're going to answer my question. Once again,
you didn't ask me a question.
Yes, I did 10 minutes ago. My question was, if you think that Donald Trump is fighting for the middle class, well, explain to me why his tax policy only benefits people making over $395,000 per year while decreasing the purchasing power for Americans making under that dollar amount. That doesn't.
I don't know
seem to be
this.
prioritizing
I'm not
class.
going to sit here and talk about a study that I haven't read. Here's what I will tell you.
Okay, so
if you think critically, let me say something. My gosh, bro.
So you're just telling me that you're not going to respond to my claim, right?
Just respond to your claim.
I don't.
I said I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to talk through a study that I haven't read. If I was educated on the study, maybe I could respond to it. But I have no idea what you're even talking about as far as the study. So if you want to send me the study, I'm happy to read it for you, and we can get back on and talk about it.
I could even clarify. I could even clarify in that extent. That's a great answer. You're just saying that you don't want to talk about something that you haven't read. Well, there's parts of it that we could just deduce through critical thought.
I don't even want. Like I feel like you're trying to dodge what I'm getting to.
Everything that you're getting to has been in response to this question. If anybody's pivoting here, it's you. But yet I've entertained it out of the kindness in my heart. So you said that you didn't.
This is not a pivot. This is economic. This is the foundation of our economic system. Is the Federal Reserve,
sir? You said that you said that you didn't want to respond to a study that you haven't read. So there's some things that we can have dialogue on. All right. The predominant reason why the study indicates that it's going to decrease purchasing power for lower income Americans is for the reason that I already gave you around 5 minutes ago. It's that tariffs increase the cost of goods, whether they're produced domestically or overseas, because once again, we source a lot of the raw materials we use to produce American-made goods from other countries. And the less money you make, the higher proportion of your income you spend on those bare necessities to live, which means you're paying more of that tax proportionately speaking. So it's a regressive tax, which reduces your purchasing power the less money you make. So
right, but
that's like the thought behind the study. And I would really appreciate it if you could like respond specifically to that argument without pivoting or talking about anything else.
I am talking specifically about that issue, but you got to let me get to the point.
Yeah, sure. Get to the point that responds and debunks my position that Donald Trump's economic policy is regressive.
Like I'm responding in contrary to that, right? Okay, I'm not saying it is regressive, and here's the reason. In the old times before 1913, people would say a penny saved is a penny earned, right? That's a Benjamin Franklin, whatever. Why now, if you save money, ultimately, let's just say you put money aside and just put it in a savings account, it goes down in value. purchasing power, right? Your purchasing power goes down. If I put $10 away when I was 10 years old, today it would be worth way less as far as purchasing power than it is today, 20 years later.
So why does the question you're asking is...
I'm not there yet. What you're dealing with a central bank, with the Federal Reserve, money is debt. Okay? Prior to 1913, Congress would issue money based on hard assets. What happens to the price of gold internationally when you let it sit in a safe? The value of the gold consistently goes up. Why? This is why it's in the Constitution. Gold is an asset that long-term gains value. Same as land, your house goes up in price, all those things. As currency inflates, the value goes down, okay? The value of your dollar goes down. If your currency is backed by something tangible, meaning if I had a dollar, this Federal Reserve note that we have now is based on absolutely nothing. It's worthless paper, okay? There's nothing that I can't go to the bank and say, hey, give me my dollar in silver. They'll look at me and like, what the hell are you talking about? In the old days, that's what they did. When the revolution started, Benjamin Franklin wrote, the refusal of King George to allow the colonies to operate an honest money system is probably the prime cause of the revolution. King George was trying to install a central bank on the founders of this country, on the patriots of this country. And they got together and they said, we don't want another slave debtor system that we've come from. We want to have a nation that is built on prosperity and actual ownership, okay? What we're dealing with right now is a Jacksonian, revolutionary type of individual. Trump is a Jacksonian revolutionary thinker.
You have
his
10
whole
more
concept.
Seconds. You have 10 more seconds.
His whole concept is
10,
the value of your money. Well,
8,
don't listen to me.
7,
count down while I'm trying to talk,
6,
bud. That's really mature.
5, 4.
Fuck you.
5, 3, 2, 1. So first and foremost, 1776 is not applicable in 2025 in the slightest. Second of all, King George has nothing to do with a response to my claim that Donald Trump's economic policy is regressive and reduces your purchasing power the less money you make. So at this point,
it does, because of the average person's value of their money. If we can go back to an average person working for a regular wage, if the value of their currency every year goes down 3-4%, what happens is they lose value and they constantly fall farther and farther behind if they're working for.
My argument is that Donald Trump's
for a minimum wage
policy,
if their value of their
is that Donald Trump's economic policy makes the purchasing power of the average American go down even further. You're describing to us that you hold a conception of monetary policy that would provide like a more stable recourse for the value of the dollar. I mean, it's just all it's I disagree, but seriously, arguing a gold-backed currency is neither here nor there in this conversation, because at the end of the day, the conclusion of your position is that you don't like it when money inflates and becomes less valuable. And my argument is that Donald Trump's economic policy will inflate the dollar. It will inflate the value of a dollar and make it less valuable. Like
I don't disagree.
The conclusion of your position, right, is applicable to Donald Trump's economic policy. It reduces purchasing power for the average American, and I want you to address that. Okay.
I don't disagree if the value of currency continues to go down. What I'm telling you is, I'm going to
kick you. I'm going to kick you because I spent 30 minutes trying to get you to respond to the claim that tariffs cause inflation. Okay? And you talked about King George, you talked about 1776, but you never responded to the claim that Donald Trump's economic policy reduces the value of the American dollar. So at this point, we are going to move on to the next guest, you guys. If you're in the stream, y'all, make sure to drop a MAGA down below in that chat. We're going to get you up here. It is also worth pointing out, y'all, that if you're watching the live, and the live does get taken down because TikTok loves to ban us, in all honesty, the first thing that you should do is head over to my YouTube channel, link in bio, because I'm always dual streaming over there. That live never gets taken down. What's going on, Moses? Do you support Trump?
Yeah, I just had a question. Do you think Trump will get a deal with Putin?
No, I think that he is historically sold out to Putin, and I do know that he's now begging Putin to stop bombing Ukraine, like over 100 days since the election when he said he could take care of it on day one. So I lost faith and hope a long time ago, and I hope that you do too. That's why electing Democrat politicians that actually care about Ukraine is very important to do. And we're going to move on to the next guest. Everyone, go ahead and just give us a minute. What is up, Jordan? Do you support Trump?
Yes, sir.
All right, before we hop into our debate, I got a handful of people to thank here. Devin, thank you for the $10 over on YouTube Super Chat. Thank you so much for the love, Devin. And then Command and Hugo with a 10 pounds. Thank you. This was Milo with a 5. Travis with a 5. And Dave with a $10 over on YouTube Super Chat. Thank you for the love, Dave. Dave with another 10 as well. Chris with the 14 Canadian dollars as well. Thank you guys all so much. As well as Brianna with the $25 over on PayPal. I want to see at least 250 W. Brianna's down below in that chat. Brianna says, my parents are also Trump supporters. You've helped me helped me a lot being able to have productive conversations with the fam. Brianna, I understand exactly how that goes and how that feels. I'm so sorry you got to struggle with that too. Show some love to Brianna down below in that chat for the 25. As well as I'd also like to thank Heather. Thank you so much for the $25 over on Venmo. Let's get 250 W's for Heather. My man Connor with a 10, 30 minutes ago. I hope you're still in here. Thank you so much for the love. And oh my God, Hannah with the $100 over on Venmo. Hannah, I really hope that you're still watching. I want to get 1,000 Hannah W's down below in that chat. Literally right now, Hannah says, Aiden, it was so great meeting you. We're so thankful for the work that you do. It was such an amazing event from Briar. It was so incredibly awesome to meet you as well. And yeah, thank you so much for showing up. That was especially awesome to meet you, Briar. Thank you so much for the love. As well as Grace, thank you for the 20. Khalil, thank you so much for the 10. Paula with a 5. And Danya with a 10. And yeah, we are all caught up. I haven't read out donations for around an hour because I was hyper locked in on that last conversation, but I do really appreciate y'all so much, as well as Brianna with a 5. Anyways, Jordan, can I get a quick W donors from you real quick?
L donors.
Okay, what about like just a W for... Aaron just donated another 20 on YouTube Super Chat to W Aaron, right? Am I right? And then Sabrina with a $14 Canadian over on YouTube Super Chat as well. Can I at least get a W Aaron?
W Aaron. He probably worked for that money, unlike you.
Oh, I don't work for the income.
Nah, you got soft hands, buddy.
You got soft hands? I guess I do now. My calluses went away. So are you basically saying that if you don't work physical labor, then you don't have a job?
I'm saying physical labor is the groundstone of America, and Trump supports that.
No, you told me that I don't work because I don't do physical labor.
Yeah, physical labor is much more important than these TikTok streams.
So you could argue that physical labor is more important. My argument is that what I do is still important and is still work and is still a job.
Nah.
Okay, so what's a job?
A job is something that supports the economy and the United States as a whole.
So a job is something that supports the economy? So
Yeah.
just like the expenditure of funds increases GDP. So, I mean, all of these donations are increasing GDP growth. So seemingly it does support the economy, meaning that I do have a job.
Yeah, but it's not really a job. It's just a
Okay, so then a job is not something that supports the economy. So then what is a job?
A job is something that supports your environment that you live in.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, like my whole thing is working as hard as I possibly can inside of my ability to make life easier for as many people as possible. I'd say that's pretty supportive of those around me.
I mean, we can agree to disagree. But I'm just saying you have a sissy job and I have a manly job.
Okay, Jordan, that was the most cringy thing I heard all day. Real quick, how old are you?
I'm 19.
What year are you born in?
2005.
Okay, Mr. Manly Man, why don't you go ahead and tell us why you support Trump?
Because we gotta close them borders.
Oh, we gotta close the borders. Were the borders open under the Biden-Harris administration?
They'll tell you it wasn't, but it really was.
Do you think they opened it?
Yeah.
How do they open the borders, Jordan?
They open the borders by not enforcing the proper security to keep them closed.
Okay, so they just didn't enforce anything new, right? You're telling us they basically sat back, they just took a lack of action, and they let all of the policies that were already in place play out, but those policies weren't good enough, right?
Yep.
So you're basically telling me the policies that were set forth by Trump weren't good enough because those were the policies that they were apparently
they
writing.
were not enforcing those policies.
So what policies were they specifically not enforcing?
Tell me this.
No, you tell me what policies they weren't enforcing so I could know how you think they opened the borders.
I can't tell you the exact policies, but I can tell you why are the borders crossing numbers so much lower now?
I'll answer your question once
under
you answer
the same
mine.
policies.
I'll happily answer your question after you answer mine.
So what just changed? I just told you I can't name the exact policy.
Okay, so then how do you know that they didn't enforce policy?
Because the numbers went up. The policy is to keep the numbers down.
Oh, okay. So you're basically saying because there was higher immigration numbers under their presidential administration, they must have caused that with their policy, right? So because we had the highest level of unemployment since the Great Depression in April of 2020 under Trump's first term, he must have caused that through his policy?
No, that was because of COVID.
So external variables can influence things in an economy, right?
Yeah, but...
So then how do you know that external variables didn't influence higher levels of immigration under Biden and Harris?
What was the external variable?
My question, what were the external variables, is different from my question. How do you know there weren't external variables?
Because there wasn't. There wasn't a COVID.
So how do you know that?
Because there wasn't. What do you mean?
So you're basically saying you know it because you know it, right? So that's a circular position that is ultimately rooted within your emotions, right?
No,
but like we're here to talk about. Like,
I work
facts
with
and
plenty
reason.
of Mexicans, and I hear about it every single day. El Salvadorians. I work with all kinds of foreigners.
So the answer to my question, how do you know that there was not external variables in which influence higher levels of immigration under Biden and Harris, was you work with Mexicans?
Yes, because they didn't tell me they came here because of an exterior. What are you talking about, dude?
Jordan, I think the better question is, what are you talking about?
They didn't come here for a reason. Like, what do you mean? There wasn't anything pushing them out of their country.
In the last 4 years?
Yes, that was different from the past 30 years.
Do you want to know something crazy?
What? Go ahead.
Did COVID hit the American economy hard?
Yes.
Does America have the most, the largest, richest economy on the face of this planet? The strongest economy as well?
One of them, but I wouldn't say so.
Okay, well, I mean, good on you, because there are some Nordic countries with some more left-leaning economic models in which are doing it better. I want to expect that from you, but hey, man, the point of my question is America has a pretty damn strong economy. It's only the biggest on the face of this planet, but still yet when COVID hit, we were hit hard, right? How do you think countries south of America with economies a fraction of the size of our own were hit by the pandemic?
Just the
harder, right? So when the pandemic hit, it hit everyone everywhere, right? And the average socioeconomic status quos in other countries was decreased significantly more than it was here at home in America, which gave individuals a significantly higher level of incentivization to want to immigrate to America for better quality of life. But when we put that total and complete shutdown of the southern border because of the pandemic into effect, Title 42, none of these migrants could come in through the legal ports of entry. So they were backlogged and they were placed in lines that were years long. When that order ultimately expired, all of a sudden, the legal means of entry into our country were less efficient than ever. And because they were less efficient than ever, those same migrants had more incentive than ever to use undocumented means of entry. And that's why we saw a massive spike in undocumented entry. So in other words, the problem of immigration under the Biden-Harris administration was caused by COVID and Title 42.
So why? Hello?
Hey, Jordan.
So why did the economy go back to
Jordan's getting a couple phone calls here. Hey, while Jordan's getting phone calls, I want to thank Aaron for the $20 super chat over on YouTube, as well as Sausage for the $20 super chat on YouTube as well. Thank you, Aaron and Sausage. You guys are phenomenal. Everybody show some love to Aaron and Sausage. Sausage says, let's put this guest in the factories once Trump brings manufacturing back. Oh, because those are the manly man jobs, right?
I am the factory.
Anyways, take it away. Please respond to my claim.
Okay, so why did the economy go back to normal, but the crossings, it didn't go back to normal?
So why did the economy go back to normal? So you do think that the economy rebounded from COVID under the Biden-Harris administration, and they did a really good job in managing that?
Not
Because I
completely,
thought that you
but
guys were the
to
ones
a
that
certain
argued that they
extent, it
destroyed the
did.
economy and never made it better.
To an extent, it went back a little bit lower than inflation.
Oh, right.
It did to an extent, but not back to
So then you're asking me why
2016.
like immigration numbers didn't decrease under their term? Well, I mean, actually, we had lower levels of immigration in the last 4 months of Biden's presidency compared to the last 2 months of Trump's first term, right? And that was impartially caused by rebounds in economies on the global stage from the pandemic and an executive order that Biden passed. But here, let me ask you this question. I think that Kamala Harris was better for immigration than Donald Trump, and here's why. Because I don't think that Donald Trump had any long-term policy to reduce undocumented immigration into America. Right? Can you name one thing he's ever ran on or implemented that will reduce undocumented entry into this country?
Build that wall, baby.
So you think a wall is a long-term solution to reduce undocumented entry? Why is that?
Absolutely. It makes the entry harder than just walking into a desert.
Okay. And out of curiosity, where is that wall?
In Texas.
Oh, well, actually, there's about, 30 miles? So Donald Trump, 50 miles, sorry. Donald Trump built 50 miles of new wall under his first term. He failed. And then when the Biden-Harris administration, right, advocated to get the bipartisan border bill passed, they had obviously worked with Republicans, so it included more funding for more of that wall, which would have been built by them under their administration, than all of in which Donald Trump built during his first term. And he told Republicans to shoot it down. So it's funny because even if the border wall was a great long-term solution to reduce undocumented migration into America, seemingly the Biden-Harris administration, they were the powerhouse that was going to get the most of it built that has ever been built. And then Donald Trump was the one that made that plan crumble. So once again, even under your own views, Donald Trump wants to increase undocumented entry into America in the long term.
No, you just said he tried to build the wall and it failed.
And then under the Biden-Harris administration,
for a plan.
he torpedoed. And then under the Biden-Harris administration, he torpedoed a bipartisan border bill that would have built more of the wall. He fought against building more of the wall than he ever did during his first admin.
No, because he's trying to get Mexico to pay for the wall.
No, he's not. No, he's never done that. No. Under the first term, it was paid for via reallocation by the DOD.
He's trying to get Mexico to secure the border as well, though, which is why he.
But that's neither here nor there. Why are you pivoting out of the conversation? You
Not
said
pivoting,
that
I'm telling you
yes,
why.
you are, because you said that what we need is a wall. Okay, I disagree. I don't think a wall on its own is going to do shit. I think that's a baseless talking point for people with no education on the subject. But even if it was a legitimate solution, the Biden-Harris administration tried to build the most wall that has ever been built, and Donald Trump torpedoed and shot down that bill. Why did Donald Trump do that?
Because Mexico wasn't paying for it.
Did Mexico pay for the wall built under his first term?
No, but he was trying to get them to.
So then why
that's
didn't
the
he
whole point.
torpedo and shoot down the building then?
I don't know. I gotta ask him.
Okay. Well, I mean, like, seemingly, then that's obviously not the reason he torpedoed and shot it down the second time.
I mean, that's a pretty broad opinion. You don't know that as a fact.
Yeah, we could induce that conclusion because he built the wall with a reallocated budget from the DOD under his first term, and he thought that it was a great plan. So why would he all of a sudden switch up under Biden and Harris?
Oh no, just like the liberals switched up on Elon.
Okay, so you want to pivot to talk about Elon Musk? That's cute. It's not going to work. Stay on subject.
Oh, you don't like Elon?
Once again, pivot's cute. It's not going to work. Stay on subject.
Okay, what was the question again?
You already forgot. I've only repeated it 4 times. How about we try this? Name one bill that Kamala Harris ran on that you think would have been bad for a country.
All of them.
So name one.
The the CHIPS Act.
Okay, well, she didn't run on the CHIPS Act. She passed the CHIPS Act with Biden in the last 4 years.
That's pretty
See, unlike
stupid,
Trump,
huh?
when she promises something, they get it done. So you thought that
Well, no, Trump promised some stuff and he got it done, like the tariffs.
So actually, no, he was really bad with passing policy he promised. He tried to get the infrastructure bill passed every week for 4 years, going to get it done. Then Biden got it done in his first month in office with a war split in Congress. But I want to clarify, what's one policy Kamala Harris ran on that was bad? Because you said all of them, so be more specific by naming one.
I wasn't looking in the Kamala's thing whenever I was voting because I already knew who I wanted to vote for.
So then how did you know it was bad?
Because I know she's a bad person.
Oh, she's a bad person. So you think that Donald Trump is a better person than Kamala Harris?
Yeah.
So
He
Donald
aligns
Trump
with
is a
my views
rapist.
more.
Donald Trump is a felon.
No, he
Donald
was-
Trump tried to religiously persecute and ban all new Muslims from coming into this country during his first term. Donald Trump has hit on 10-year-old girls, sexualizing them. Donald Trump boasted about walking into the changing room of half-naked teenage girls. What has Kamala Harris done?
I don't want to get you banned, but
So then
Hold on.
censor your language and say it with TikTok appropriate terms.
okay, she went she read nighttime stories of somebody to get a better job, if you know what I'm saying.
So first of all, I would argue that being a literal rapist is worse than being a prostitute.
Well, no, you don't know if
Right,
that's true or
but
not.
but your
That's
claim about her doing that is absolutely false. In fact, it is just another
Your claim about
disgusting,
Trump being a
misogynistic
great-
position to shit on the woman because she's a woman. All right, but even if it was true, okay, being a P3DO rapist is definitely worse.
So what's her name? E. Jean Carroll? Is that her name?
Yeah, but actually, before we talk about Eugene Carroll, you told me that you think that Kamala Harris was a P-stoot. We're just going to say that for TikTok. So why do you think Kamala Harris was a P-stoot?
Because she was with that guy.
Because she was a woman? She was a woman?
No.
Oh, okay.
never said that.
Then what? Because she was with that guy?
I don't like how you just put those words in my mouth.
Oh, well, listen. No, I'm going to be very clear with how I feel. I absolutely think that the only reason you say that is because she's a woman and you're a misogynist. But,
I'm not a misogynist.
but, I'm willing to give you the mic to prove me wrong by giving me legitimate reason to inform that belief as not being consequential of misogyny. So if it's not consequential of misogyny that you think Kamala Harris was a P-stoot, what's the evidence? You said she was with a guy? Okay, so you think every person that's with a guy is a P-stoot? Hey, man, have you ever had a girlfriend?
Yeah.
So you dated a P-stoot because she was with a guy?
No.
Oh, okay, so just because you're with a guy doesn't make you a P-stoot. So what made Kamala Harris a P-stoot?
Well, you said I'm a misogynist, right?
Yeah, of course. And now this is your chance to prove me wrong by giving me like
The only
legitimate
person who
reason to
knows
instantiate
if I'm a
that she's P-stoot.
misogynist is myself, right?
Well, no, apparently I do too. But once again, you do have the mic to prove me wrong. All that's required to prove me wrong is to give me reason to believe that she's a P-stoot. That doesn't relate to your prejudice against women. So we're waiting, man. I mean, you have the mic. I'm giving you a ample opportunity to prove me wrong.
Okay, she dated him, and then when she got her promotion, they broke up. Seems quite apparent.
So what's the promotion?
The DE, whatever her job was of California, the DA.
Oh, okay. So she became the DA of California?
Whatever state
So-
she did the bar exam in.
So states, they don't have like a state DA.
Oh,
There's
my
no
bad.
such thing as a. Are you
Was
talking
it
about a
San
state
Francisco
AG?
or Los Angeles? San
You're talking about
Francisco?
Are you talking about the like Attorney General of California?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Whatever she
her
did.
relationship. Wait, I have a question. Who did she date to get that position?
I don't know. I don't keep up with that. I just know she failed.
Okay,
her
then how do you know she dated
Nobody
somebody
who
to get that
fails their bar
position?
exam should be getting that position.
So how do you know that? Oh, but apparently a rapist should be able to get into the White House, and she passed the bar exam. It's quite hard. You should try it sometime, but you'd never get into the door of a law school.
think so?
Anyways, once again, I know so. Once again, so how do you know she dated somebody
J.D.
to become
Vance
the
did.
AG of California?
What happened?
How do you know she dated somebody to become the AG of California?
Because Charlie Kirk told me.
Oh, so if
Personally.
Charlie Kirk says something, it's true.
Yeah, he actually says a lot of true stuff.
So your basis of like fact is Charlie Kirk.
No, news outlets as well.
Okay. See, this is the problem with America, you guys. Apparently, if Charlie Kirk says something, it's true. So who you're talking about, his name is Willie Brown. He was a mayor of San Francisco 20 years before she was the AG of the state of California. And they had briefly dated around 10 to 15 years before she got that position. So tell me how a mayor from 20 years ago could get her 15 million votes in a statewide race.
Because he put her in the position to get those votes. You don't think so?
What was the position that he put her in? Like the put her in the position to run?
Yeah.
Okay, and how did he do that?
Because he was also
now you have no fucking clue what to say. That's crazy. No, all that you're trying to do is undermine a woman because she's a woman.
No.
Yes. That's it. That's ultimately true. Okay? Because if you wanted to have this conversation about putting people into positions of power to be able to run for a public office, well, I mean, you would be like this independent anti-DNC, RNC against the institution as much as possible. Okay? Because we have we have money in super PACs that we have nowhere where it goes that funds politicians on both sides of the aisle to better position themselves for future candidacies in election, okay? There's so much money in politics that is put there just to fund people's campaigns. You've never talked about that, but that is legitimately something, putting people in positions to run for positions of power that they'd otherwise be underqualified for. But no, your only issue here is with a woman that dated a man that became an AG of a state 15 years later because she got 15 million votes.
Okay, and you're saying
So tell me how her sleeping with a man 15 years ago got 15 million constituents from California to vote for her.
You're saying I'm only saying these things about her because she's a woman.
Yeah, of course. Because if you wanted to have a legitimate conversation, of course. So the only reason, if you wanted to have a legitimate conversation about qualifications for presidential nominees, you would have voted for Kamala Harris. She was more qualified than Donald Trump in every single conceivable sense. And by the way, engaging in a little bit of a hypothetical here, imagine the only reason she was in that position was because she was a woman and she had no legitimate qualifications. In reality, it was exactly as you described. Yeah, I would feel really embarrassed about Trump then, because this lady who was only in that position because of what was in between her legs with no legitimate qualifications just was somehow infinitely more qualified than the billionaire businessman, right? I mean, what does that tell us about him?
Okay, can I finish what I was saying? Please?
Yeah, feel free to continue to tell me that Kamala Harris was a bad person because she was in a relationship while you continue to support the guy that's hit on children and wanted to exclude all Muslims from America, wants to pass economic policy to redistribute wealth from the poor to the rich, raped a woman, committed 34 felonies, unironically tried to coup and rig the outcome of a presidential election. I mean, it's a terribly embarrassing look for you. So continue to speak.
Okay, so Tim Walz, right? He was handed his position to be the potential vice president. He wasn't qualified for that.
A conversation about Tim Walz is neither here nor there. I liked him, but I want to talk about Kamala Harris and Donald Trump.
No, because you said I'm only doing this to Kamala because she's a woman, but the same thing happened about Tim, and he's a white straight male just as myself.
Okay, so what I said specifically as it relates to Kamala Harris is you called her a fucking prostitute.
I never said those words, actually.
Yes, you did. Quite frankly, yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You said, how do I say it without getting bananaed? And then you went on to describe her as a quote-unquote LADEA of the night. And then I was like, oh, so you mean pea-stoot? Let's use that word for TikTok Live. And then I went on to ask you why you think she's a pea-stoot. And then you went on to describe why you think she's a pea-stoot, why you're now shifting the goalposts and acting as if there's not 10,000 people actively listening into this conversation.
Okay, I never called her a pea-stoot because she wasn't.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Stop it. You did.
She was dating a guy for a raise. That's not a pea-stoot.
You have no evidence to justify that claim. You didn't even know who he was. You didn't know his name. You didn't know when they dated. You didn't know what he did. You were just baselessly propagating the same misogynistic claims because your IQ is equivalent to my family dog and you've been socialized to be a piece of shit by people like Charlie Kirk and other thought leaders on the right. You've been conned. You've been indoctrinated. What is little man syndrome?
That's
Is
what
that
you
something
have.
that you and every single one of your buddies that support Trump's has because you feel like there's nothing you could be on your own, so you want to join a part of a larger movement that intends to try to destroy this country and that gives you this false feeling of self-importance? Or is it just something that you're going to accuse me of when I'm absolutely dog-walking you with fact, reason, and logic, which is something you know nothing about?
You know what you know nothing about?
How the fuck you got from point A of being like this newborn sweet baby that had parents that loved you and
I'm very sweet.
an adult man
homeless
that
every
is
weekend,
calling
so.
the work I do sissy work, screaming about how a random woman you've never met that ran for the presidency was a fucking prostitute? Come on, bro.
I do more for,
that's
I do
so
more than
disingenuous.
you do. Come on,
that is so
come on.
disgusting too.
Come on, I help my environment and then I do philanthropy on the side.
So I once again,
You do
I want you to
nothing.
respond to my claim. Who's worse, the grapist or the non-grapist? Who's worse, the person that wants to take wealth from the poor and give it to the rich, or the person that wants to increase the purchasing power of 100 million American
You
workers?
call him
from
a
the lower middle
rapist, so
class?
why should she wait 20 years to say anything about it?
So actually, let's ask a better question. Why do 60% of women that get raped never report it to anybody in their lives?
I don't know. I'd be telling everybody.
Because people like you exist. There is consequences that come as a result of reporting rape as a woman in America, because there's many men such as yourself that use that to simply blame the victim and act as if they're the bad guy and make their life worse. Shit, she literally got fired from her job, right? She was an author and a reporter for over 30 years. The moment she tells the world that she got raped, she's fired from that position, and 49.9% of her country laughs in her face, votes for a rapist, and calls her a liar. Okay? Do you want an analogy? In fact, I am going to use an analogy. If you were really thirsty, right, and there was a cup of water that you knew was clean sitting right in front of you, would you drink it?
No,
What?
it's not my water.
Did you hear what I just asked you? If you were really thirsty and there was a cup of water sitting in front of you that you knew was clean, it was your water, would you drink it?
I mean, sure, I'll play along with this, but no. But I'm going to say yes for you.
You just said, so like you said you'd say yes for me, but like the real answer would be no. So if you're thirsty, you just wouldn't drink water? What?
I mean, if I'm in my house and I see a water and I'm thirsty, I'm not going to pick up the water. I'm going to go pour myself a cup.
So if you were
I can
thirsty,
steal somebody's water.
no. If you were thirsty and you had a cup of your water that you knew was clean sitting in
Oh,
front
it's
of you,
my
would you
water?
drink it?
Yeah, I drink my water.
Okay. All right. Without any hesitancy, right? Because you know that it's safe, you know it's clean, you know it's not going to cause you any harm.
Yeah, it's my water.
But if you were really thirsty and you got a cup of water from a river that may not be clean, may not be safe, and may cause you some harm in the long term, would you drink it then, or would you maybe hesitate first?
If that's the only option, I would drink it then.
What if it wasn't the only option? What if you could go without drinking it?
Then obviously I would not drink it.
Oh, great. Because it could like potentially lead to more harm against you in the long term, right? There's maybe some negative consequences that would exist there from drinking water from a river. And I mean, the conceptual point here is in the same way, if we could promote and cultivate a society in which would include no negative consequences for grape victims coming out about the fact that they were graped, and we as a society all agreed that grape is wrong, and when somebody grapes somebody else, they're a bad person that deserves to be granted repercussions and not defended, we would see the propensity of women that are willing to come out about their experiences increase dramatically. But that's not reality. We live in a world where, as I already described, victims are blamed, victims are hurt, victims are harmed, and the rapists roam free with no consequences. I mean, shit, in this circumstance, they were elected in the most powerful position known to mankind, right? And because of those negative consequences that can exist for victims coming out about what happened to them, right? Many people do wait 20 years, like E. Jean Carroll did. Many people never report it at all.
But why'd she sue him instead of like taking him to jail?
So why did she go to? So she went to a civil court instead of a criminal court, because the criminal statute of limitations had passed, but the civil statute of limitations had not passed, bud.
So she is gonna take him to go to jail eventually.
Okay? So statute of limitations on a crime is basically, if this crime was committed past the statute of limitations, it can no longer be litigated, right? They have no jurisdiction to delegate consequent reprimand or punishment for that crime because the statute of limitations passed. So her statute of limitations to take him to criminal court had passed, right? But she still had the availability to take him to civil court. So in other words, she literally couldn't, because of the law, take Donald Trump to a criminal court.
So he didn't break the law. Okay.
What?
If he's not being held for it in the law, he didn't break the law.
So in the state of New York, there's a statute, or there was a statute of limitations on grape in the 90s. So if you were to have graped a child in the 90s, right, today, you could not be criminally prosecuted. Does that mean that if you graped a child in the 90s, you didn't break the law today?
No.
Good boy. Thank you for using your last 2 brain cells.
Okay, little guy.
You're calling me little guy? I'm going to laugh that one off.
How tall are you?
How tall wouldn't you like to know?
I know in that profile picture, you'll level with that coat hanger. Those are usually about like 5'6".
Cute, Jordan. Do you want to respond to what I said?
Who's your little puppy? Who's your good boy?
Not you. You're being a terrible boy. Very bad boy. Now respond to what I said, okay? Or are you like just starting to like freak out and like lose any coherent sense on reality because you just got owned?
No.
Of course, yeah, bro. You're like you're like saying, who's a good boy? You're talking about puppies. You're asking me how tall I am and looking at my profile picture after I just debunked you. So once again, you said that if a statute of limitation passes on a